Welcome to the second episode of We
We are
Are.
the Alchemists.
That was not together. We.
Are the Alchemists.
Exactly. I'm Syed, and you are?
Jeremy's Bertarioni.
Yes. All right. And that is our intro. Let's get started. So, we're going to be talking about my tournament this past weekend.
So you're in
I'm in New York.
Syracuse.
I'm in New York, New York. I'm visiting my sister, but I just came back from Syracuse.
No, dude. Just be
No,
honest
what?
with the audience.
Just lie. Okay, I just got back from Syracuse
Yep.
to New York, where my sister lives, and we have currently scrubbed out of both of the events that we've played, and I have news for you. The breaking news is the format is the worst modern format I have ever played. It is completely variance driven, and let me tell you, it yesterday there was a circle of probably the most winningest Magic players I have ever been around, especially on the SEG tour, where none of us made day two. All right, let's go over this list. All right, Eli Cassis, Pro Tour champion.
Washed.
Shaheen, Shaheen Sarani, 5-0, loses the last three rounds in a row.
Fossil.
Dan Jessup, Rossum, Jonathan Rossum, myself, and who else was there? Yeah, those are the only people. But that's like five people who all have 10 plus open top eights. I've never been to a tournament where none of us made day two. Not even talking about top 16, top 32, top 64. Just make day two, right?
But, but,
Oh, Pete Ingram. That's six. Did not make day two.
but look at the people who did make day two. Josh Warsaw.
Who went 0-5 today,
Oh, man. Oh, no. He's like,
right?
he always liked me, Josh Warsaw. He would come over and I would do jokes and he would like it. As opposed to like most people on the SCG tour, they would come over, I would do jokes and they would be like, "You are a strange, sad little man."
Okay. The best player that I saw on day two was probably Matt Tumovich,
Yeah.
who beat all the odds. But yeah, I mean, terrific player. But when I walked, day two was like 50 players. I recognized two players out of the 50 players in day two.
Okay, so he was playing Is It Delver, so I guess people are gonna want to know. Um, they're gonna say Zan.
I don't know. I don't know if he made top eight. I would bet that he made at least top 12. But
I quit watching. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with some of my friend. What did you end up playing?
I played four color Yorion.
I thought you played Enchantress.
No, I played that on Friday.
Okay.
And then I decided that maybe I was overthinking the format and I should just play what the best players have been winning with. And so I just played the four color list. I complete like my testing resulted in like 150 in like 10 leagues, right? And so my win rate was pretty abysmally low after testing a lot of the decks. And the way I test is like if I make a mistake, I like count that against myself, but not against the deck. And so majority of the games were really like snowbally, where either I just had the nuts or my opponent had the nuts, but there was no like back and forth where I was making a decision that mattered and my opponent was making a decision that mattered.
Um, so you kind of yeah. I mean, look. Here's the four color deck. All right. It's like I like two for ones, and everybody's like, okay, and you're like, but that's all my deck can do. I have to get a two for one all the time, and like that's never been it's like rare that that's like the best deck because sometimes you'll just get way blown out and you'll be behind. That just happens in Magic, and you're like, oh, like, Ice Fang Coatl's not going to handle it, and something like that happens.
Well, I would generally agree with that, but it's different, right? The moment you get a bunch of force of will type of cards, then getting two for ones is great because a force of will just catches you up, right? And the force of will equivalent in modern is solitude,
Solitude.
right? Like just for like I played against blue red twice this weekend, right? And both times I played against it, I completely crushed it. It was like when they play, if the way they're gonna win the match is Murktide, and my force of will directly deals with their best threat,
Yeah.
then I feel like I'm gonna win majority of the time. Not to mention how well Teferi lines up against their best card. Since they started becoming less aggressive and started playing like um ledgers, it's become easier to stabilize.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of pointless like arguing about every deck. Like basically, I think that like fake diversity exists in modern, and this is like better for like outside appeal. So if someone looking outside was like, "Oh my God, look at all these decks that are seeing play." All like if you look at the top eight decks, all top eight decks consist of cards from Modern Horizons. So any card that can battle against a Modern Horizons 2 or Modern Horizons 1 card has been banned.
I saw that. I saw a match where Warsaw was playing against a Golgari food deck, and that was funny to me because it was like it's Modern Horizons versus Eldraine, and it's like okay, what a monster set Eldraine was that it gets to go toe to toe. It was just Eldraine cards basically and Asmoran, but he had Trail of Crumbs, like bunch of cats, bunch of ovens. Obviously, he was just going and doing his thing, and like Josh had a solitude, but it didn't matter. And I was just like, yeah, let's go Throne of Eldraine, which you'll remember is my set.
Yep, you do love that set.
I love that set. I said I loved that set, and then it came
I,
out.
I mean, if you think about it, Eldraine, Eldraine's upgrade was Modern Horizons 1, and then it was like kind of like the evolution chart, right? Like Eldraine was bad, and then they made it a lot worse with uh with Modern Horizons 1, right? Like you got Ren in 6, you got Lava Dart, which basically annihilated anything that had one toughness,
Yeah.
right? Like all those cards are just gone. Like Infect can never see play again because if it ever runs into a Ren in 6 on turn 2, you just want to say I don't want to play Magic anymore.
All right, you got it, man. Look, I didn't know you wanted to play so bad. But we have
Yeah.
Hammer. Hammer's like the Infect players get to now do Hammer stuff.
Well, without like Mox Opal, the explosiveness has like downgraded quite a bit. Not to mention there's a force that deals with two of your best cards, including the Saga.
Okay, so yeah, we don't want to get too into the nitty gritty of the modern format, I guess, just because like who cares? There's like an element of who cares, right? Because I think I've heard what you said before, also, which is like there is kind of forced diversity, where it's like, yes, I feel like it's a diverse format because there's like 6 or 7 different decks that I could reasonably play, but it's like different kinds of vigor decks, or do you want to play 4 color, or do you not, or you can't afford 4 color, so you play Is It Murktide? Is kind of like where a lot of people end up. Um,
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give my final thought on it. I
Great.
think this is important.
Yeah.
All right, final thought is if you've ever played League of Legends, the way that League of Legends makes money with its free model is like basically if someone wants to play with the new cards, they need to be powerful enough that they trump the rest of the cards. So whenever a new champion comes out, it's always going to be heavily pushed because they want the pros to play it. So all the people on ladder want to play it, therefore buying it and then buying skins, and that's how they end up making the money.
Yeah.
And so Magic is using the same approach by basically they notice that modern is seeing a lot more play than all of our other formats. It's so affordable. And guess what? Someone can buy a deck and never have to buy another Magic card ever again. Right? Remember when you can just buy Burn, Infect, and Dredge, and Jund, and basically you never have to buy another deck, and that was for years and years and years,
Yep.
right? So what they did was they banned anything that could go up against those cards, and then release cards. So you have to invest in the new cards if you want to play the format still. And so I just want to spill the beans and let you guys know what's going on. So the format that's always going to remain the healthiest is where Wizards is least tampering, and that's why Explorer slash Pioneer, those are the best. Those are the most like untainted, um, fun, uh, what do you call it, formats, because your deck building, your decisions, all of those things matter rather than the amount of money that you ended up spending on cards and rolling dice to win the lottery.
That's interesting because if you think about where Wizards is focusing, like when they announced that like organized play was over, they were kind of like we're going to be focusing on Commander, and Commander players were really happy. But I read it as like, hey, they just said like Commander players, we're coming for you next. And if you listen to Commander players, they're like they've printed 100 legends in the last year. Like this is too much. And I'm like, oh yeah, is it too much? Is Wizards kind of pouring too much into your format and making it not as good? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's happening to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing you're going to see is there's going to be a rise in competitive because there's less attention on them.
Right, exactly. People are gonna because the formats are gonna get better. I've been. This is the first time in a while I've literally been grinding Arena Explorer queue.
Oh man, I believe it. Like, is it fun? I want to play it.
I'm liking it. I was playing the red black mid range deck for a while just because I like sort of getting in the weeds, but I got really attracted to the red black like anvil decks because they sort of were beating the mid range decks, and also you could sort of play a lot of the same cards. I'm really interested in, of course, Fable of the Mirror Breaker right now as just like a card that I like to play. People that know me know that it's like just like I really just love to play the really good cards. And Fable of the Mirror Breaker is like it's like a 3 for 1 that if they don't answer two of the three parts, then they'll just lose the game, right? If you make a treasure, you're like, well, you're done, dude. I don't know how to explain it, but I made a treasure with this card, so it's over. And then if obviously you get to untap with Reflection of Kiki Jiki, I've like never come close to losing one of those games because you're just like, well, now I have in your end step two graveyard scavengers, which drains you for three, and now I'm gonna attack with three graveyard scavengers, and your opponent's just like, what happened? And you're like, Fable the Mirror Breaker, dog. I don't know why they made this card, but so yeah, I've been playing those in the Explorer queues. There's a really cool, and I think way better than people are playing it. I'm playing at a high level, but every time somebody resolves an enigmatic incarnation against me, I think in my head what they're gonna do, and then they do something different and lose. But I think that if somebody really good was playing enigmatic incarnation, we could watch them all day. It's just like a perfect deck in Explorer. It probably doesn't translate well to Pioneer.
Um, okay, so I have a couple of thoughts about this card. Um, so first thing I want to say is I think the first person that I saw explore with the enigmatic, what's the second part of the card?
Incarnation.
Yeah, enigmatic incarnation was Jeff Hoogland, and I started then playing against it online, and I was pretty impressed. I was like, "Oh, this is a card that he noted down that eventually he wanted to work on, which I thought was dope." And when I did run into it, It had a lot of like birthing pod type of effects, which I really like. I was like, "Oh, dang, that's really really cool." I do think that there is a possibility that we end up having some really cool combos with the card. I It's pretty absurd with the 3 mana black, two colorless, draw three cards.
Yeah, not painful truths, but the treacherous instinct,
Oh, treacherous blessing.
traitorous blessing,
No, treacherous blessing.
treacherous blops.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're talking
Um,
about Hain Hain from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I I think that there are potentially some like Splinter Twin-esque type of combos with the card, especially if you have like, Agent of Treachery that exists or some type of blink effects.
I mean, the thing
I
that's
feel like
just really
it's good
impressing.
with Yorion.
It's good with Yorion. The thing that's really impressing me is the omens. So they played Omen of the Sea, and then the Enigmatic incarnation sacked it and got Renegade Rallier, which brought back the Omen of the Sea. And then they could do that again next turn for another Renegade Rallier. And I was just like, they just get to for the rest of the game for 4 turns, right? Because there's 4 Ralliers in the deck. They get to just Omen of the Sea in their instep.
That is pretty dope. You can also that's pretty crazy that you can do it with Omen of the Forge. I also like it with Trial, the Black Trial.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of creatures in that format, and none of them like just come back except for like Cat. So a lot of potential there.
And
Did you see what they did to Cat in the other format?
oh my god.
Historic?
Let's make a rule for this podcast. Historic, alchemy. I don't care. I literally, for some reason, I just feel like it's so made up and fake and wrong and dumb.
I just think that okay, the first couple of moves that they made, they were really great, but as time has gone on, and like I wish someone would just make like a giant chart of all the moves that they made in Alchemy. I would just rip them to shreds. They are like it's like a preschooler just like drawing lines everywhere and it's like, this is the case. I've solved it. And you're like, do you have any idea what you're doing? Like, you can't mess up on this because if you mess up on this, then this idea fails because of the incompetence. Like, right? Like the idea of being able to fix problems after they arise, after when they make it to the players, is important, right? Whether you're doing it in like beta testing or you're doing it in what do you call it, after the fact without banning cards, you can't like lose like the customers like acceptance of it, right? Like we're at the point at which people are like, I'm never gonna play Alchemy, and it's because of all the awful way you handled it.
Because they'll do an announcement and they'll be like, okay, the cards that you really Asika's Chariot is nerfed. By the way, all the black white dungeon cards, we made them a little better. And it's like, oh, better enough to like see play, and they're like, no, 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 no. We made them like slightly better in silly ways. And you're like, oh, um, how long did someone spend doing that? Because that wasn't good. Like, they should have been doing something else. They should have been, getting Mark Rosewater's lunch or whatever. Like, just spend their time in a better way. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't played Alchemy in a long time. I do like Explorer a lot. You can play a control deck. You can play a mid-rangey deck. I was playing against some mono red today. I don't think it ever beat me, but I was playing a really good deck against them, which was red black Anvil. It's just really hard for them to beat that engine. Um, but it just any format where I feel like mid range fine, engine combo of Anvil fine, control and aggro, like all 4 of those are fine. That's the ways that I think people should be playing Magic. Theoretically, I'm leaving out combo. In Pioneer, you can play Lotus Field combo. It's not like extremely good. Like it creeps into top 8 sometimes, which is like right where you want a combo deck. You want like the Lees of the local game stores to be happy. They're like, oh, I'm not attacking. I'm untapping my lands. And you're just like, dude, I'm so glad you're having a good time. Like that's awesome. But
yeah. They banned the right cards, that's why. Whoever was in charge of banning, like, and I feel like the answer was too easy, right? It's like, ban Breach, okay. Now how are they gonna win? Fate of Wishes, okay, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Do some dumb stuff. Did you see Canister this past week was playing in Modern a Neoform deck without Simian Spirit Guides, and it was just like he had to do like hundreds of an iteration of something weird. I don't remember exactly what it was. Oh, no, I couldn't tell you, but it was just absurd and like not going to work. Even when he had drawn his whole deck, he had to like keep on recurring like Mox Ambers and things by like discarding 7 cards into his graveyard, endurancing himself to put it back, and then drawing it with Gristlebrand to play the Mox Amber again, because those things were all free to do. And then he could like tap the Mox Amber for 1 more mana, and he was trying to cast Tendrils, and I was like, dude, you had to discard 7 cards 4 times after he had drawn his whole deck, and then draw it with Gristlebrand to like do the combo. And I was just watching it, and like everyone in chat was like, this is so amazing, and I was like, this is fine, this is so, I'm glad you think so. But yeah, so like I'm kind of not really into Modern right now. The deck I'm playing, if anyone cares, is an Affinity deck that has Ledger Shredder in it. I think Affinity is pretty well positioned right now. I think Cranial Plating is just like pretty good against, for example, 4-color, because like when you task them with removing every single Memnite and Ornithopter that you play, and you're playing Thought Monitor and Thought Cast, like you're also getting 2-for-1s. And I'm the kind of guy that really likes to tech out a deck and have all these like little tricks. So before anyone knew me in Scapeshift, I was playing like a Jund Scapeshift deck in Modern. I was playing like a Jund Scapeshift deck that had Sylvan. It's like 1 and a green, go find a land. And so I would be on my 7 mana turn, and
Sylvan Scrying.
Sylvan Scrying. I would be on my 7 mana turn. I would cast it. The control players would be like, it resolves, because they only care about Scapeshift, and I would go get Boseiju or Cavern of Souls, which I both had as 1-ofs in my deck, because like now you can't counter the thing that's coming. So I'm a tech guy, so I like Urza Saga. You have a Cranial Plating in play, your Urza Saga pops, you go get Ginger Brute, and you're just like, Tenya. You know what I mean? Because you get to just equip it, it has haste, it's unblockable, just like, boop. And so I love that an Urza Saga pop can just kill them out of nowhere. So I've been playing that deck and trying to like really tech it out so that I just win in every situation. That's been fun, but I kind of agree with you that it is sort of just like, wah. And then if like, okay, so let's say that I figure it out and break the format, and Ledger Shredder Affinity is the best deck, it'll instantly stop being the best deck, because Affinity has never been able to be the best deck for more than 1 week in a row, because everyone just says like, oh, all your cards are artifacts? Let me see if I have some sideboard cards about that. And you're just like, all right, I'm done. That was fun. That was a fun week.
Well, I mean, do you remember? I mean, the only time where that's not been the case was with Urza. Do you remember the really funny scenario of people trying to beat Urza? I can't remember the player's name, but they had a deck where they were playing main deck Ancient Grudges in a Braids, because they were trying to like blow up our lands by making them artifacts and stuff.
Do you want me to say the name of the player? He's a good
Yeah.
player. He's cool. Like this would honestly be a shout out to him, because the deck wasn't even targeting us. It was just it was Jonathan Job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have one of the best feature matches ever against them.
Okay.
I totally forgot about that. Do you remember when I was playing Elder Deep Fiend?
No, dude. Come on, man. Everyone remembers when you were playing Elder Deep Fiend, but I don't remember a match that you had against Jonathan Job while you were playing Elder
You
Deep
were
Fiend.
watching. You were watching. I was in top 8. It was the first round of top 8. He was playing Eldrazi. No, he's playing the red Eldrazi deck. I don't know. It's like
Yeah, with
the red Obliterator card, which like steals.
Yep. Eldrazi
Yeah,
Persuade
not Displacer. I thought it was Eldrazi Obliterator.
Obligator.
Obligator. Oh, good job. Teamwork makes the dream work.
We figured out the name of a card, and so like people are watching this on YouTube, and they like for the past 5 seconds were like, "Ah," but then we said it, and they're like,
Yep.
So anyway, the real questions about tournaments, and this is what people care about tournaments. You were in Syracuse, New York.
Yep.
So did you go to Possibilities?
I did go to Possibilities. It was pasta fantastic.
Dude, oh my gosh. Did you ordered off the seasonal menu, I assume?
I did not. I went with something basic, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Is because there was an hour and a half wait. And so we went to another place which was amazing. And they had like what do you call it? We had like a what are those cheese boards called? It's like charcuterie something.
Yes, shark coochie boards.
Nope. Close enough. anyways, we went and we had like a bunch of appetizers. But an hour and a half passed, and the appetizers were a lot bigger than we thought. Like, Rossum ordered like sushi with like hot Cheeto flaming dust on it. Yeah, like, and like I got like this fried rice dish. And so by the time we finished and we went over there, we were all pretty full and none of us finished our pasta. The only thing that we finished was the bread that they bring with the pasta, like with the pasta sauce, which is insane. It was that their sauce is so good
Yeah.
that I like bought the sauce so I could bring it here. And so when I got back to my sister's place, she warmed it up and made some pasta here,
So
and I had
okay,
that right before. Yeah,
this is why you guys care, right? This is why the viewers care. What you don't know is that SCG grinders, like over time, just become like nuts travel guides for like certain cities. So if you're ever like, I'm going to Syracuse, or I'm going to
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio, or I'm going to King of Prussia, Philadelphia. Like, an SCG grinder is all of a sudden like the most qualified person in the world to plan your vacation. And so we know that if you go to Syracuse, New York, there's a restaurant there called Postabilities. The prices aren't even that bad. It's the best pasta you can have. And so just go there. So if you had said no, you'd be like, no, I didn't go. I'd be like, man, you went all the way to, because it's not, Syracuse isn't on the way anywhere. So you went to Syracuse, New York, and you didn't even go to the reason to go there cuisine wise. So yeah, I'm just happy that you went, and that's just what I wanted to ask. The last time I was there, so here's the thing about me: when I go into a restaurant, I ignore the non-seasonal menu. Give me the spring special or the summer special or whatever. If there's not a seasonal menu, it's not that kind of restaurant. Don't ask me about that. Don't try to pin me to a wall here and be like, well, what if you're in a Waffle House, right? So if I go into a restaurant, I check the seasonal menu. I went into this. There was like a spring mix pasta. It sounded really good. I ordered it. Best thing I ever had. I called the manager out. I was like, your waiter's great. Your food's great. The fuck out of my face. And they were like, you're awesome. And so I really like the restaurant. So I'm glad that you went and you saw
The last
friends.
time we went, we were securing a sponsorship, so it was a pretty great time.
Yeah, we had a good time. I just ate at a good restaurant down here in Atlanta.
Oh, tell me about it.
I was on a date.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
oh, I shouldn't tell you about that. Anyway, I was on
No,
a.
I need to know.
I was.
I need to know.
Why do you need to know?
I'm a podcast host,
Yeah,
co-host, co-host.
because you're my podcast boss. Anyway,
No co-host.
and you want me under your little thumb. I'm just
No,
like,
we're bro. This is equal parties.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I went on a date. Girl was really, she was really cute. She thought I was really funny. She was pretty funny. We laughed a lot. It was nice. But we went to Poppy's. It's in Midtown Atlanta. It's a Cuban place. It's pretty small, really good food, great portions. Some of the best fried plantains I've ever had outside of Costa Rica. I know we're Magic players, but we don't fry planes and eat them. That's a myth. Planes are
Yeah.
not sustainable. Yeah, you're right. Planes not sustainable. But it was a good restaurant, and it was a good date. I think that we're gonna have a second date.
Did you ask?
Well, we said in like I was like, this was a lot of fun, and she was like, yeah, yeah, for sure. I was like, we'll probably do this again soon, and she was like, yeah. And we were going to originally go get bubble tea afterwards, but she had a time constraint thing that I knew about when I knew about the date, and our it took them a really long time to bring us the check, which we could kind of didn't mind because we were talking, and it was a sort of restaurant where we could hear one another, so like the conversation was good, so we didn't mind that it took forever to bring the check, but it did cut in front of um, like going to get bubble tea. But she was like, well, next time we'll get bubble tea. So that was sort of like said. And then also she works in restaurants, so I had to be super cool about they're not coming to give us our check. And then she was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. She went to the bathroom, and I like walked up to the place where all the waiters are and was like, hey, dude, we need our check, dude. It's been forever. And they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And I was like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's totally cool. But just like bring me my check now, please. And then I went back to my table and sat down. And she came out of the bathroom. She was like, "Oh, they brought it." And I was like, "Ha, yeah, yeah, they did. That's crazy. It's crazy that they brought it as soon as you left."
All right, dude, bro. All right, I gotta give you the perfect date idea
Okay.
for your second date. All
Yeah.
right, it's like my ideal date. It was such a like eye-opening date. Like when I like put it all together, how I was gonna do it. That I like bought all the stuff in advance, even though I have nothing planned anytime soon. Um, and it's so I bought some like 2007, 2008, 2009 iPod Nano from back then. And basically, I I'm gonna put a playlist on it from that era because I'm assuming that whoever I'm going on a date with was in high school around that time, and then yeah, and then go to an art museum and listen to that that album. And that idea is actually from a show called Atlanta.
Atlanta was viewer intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. And then it's Paperboy, and he's like, "Ern, you're a bad manager." And Ern's like, "I work hard, man." And that's the show.
Yep. Nope. Well, it's a Childish Gambino show for those of you guys that have not watched the show. But basically, there's a scene where uh, two guys they are in Amsterdam, Paperboy and his sidekick. I don't remember his name, but
Darius.
yep. And they went and tripped on some shrooms in downtown Amsterdam, and he handed him an iPod, and then they just both walked around the city, listening to some curated jams. And
Okay,
I
but
think that
isn't the problem here? It's similar to like a movie date, right? Where you can't talk to one another.
well, your the difference between a movie and this is in a movie you're not having a conversation and you're listening to somebody else's like message to you. But based on the music that you've curated, your like music can be a very emotional experience. So if you make a good playlist, you can transfer that emotional experience through the music.
Okay, so good playlists. You gotta think what do girls like, and so girls like, freaking Avril Lavigne. So you just put Skater Boy and Girlfriend on there 100 times. Boom! You're in the money, boys. Everyone listening to this podcast, write that down.
But I will say, like, I think the most overrated date of like all time is taking a girl to the movies
Oh
or a
yeah,
guy
yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, taking someone to the movies. You can't talk to one another, and that is generally going to be the basis. Communication, even if it's not talking outright, is going to be the basis of, um, a relationship with somebody. So it like kind of hinders that. It is a fine, like,
It's a filler date.
it's a like there.
Filler.
It's like a. This is getting into the like. There's a lot of societal expectations around the third date, but it is a fine third date because you can establish close physical contact, like for a prolonged period of time in the movie theater by like putting your arm around somebody or holding hands, and steal some glances, which like sort of build a good tension. But this is after your first 2 dates. You're trying to get to know somebody. Here's my, and this is like definitely like they're gonna play this and like, and this is how we knew Jeremy was a sociopath. But here's how like dates go, right? Your first date should be a public place so that everybody's safe and you both get to know one another. You talk, hopefully you guys laugh, and you decide, oh, we get along. And then if that goes well, there's a second date. So if the first date is getting to know one another, the second date should be sort of like doing something fun with somebody. So it's like it doesn't have to be like a water park, but like go to a museum, take a walk on the Beltline of Atlanta and get some bubble tea or whatever. Like you do something fun to where it sets you up for success, right? You already got to know them on the first date. On the second date, you're doing something fun. And then like this isn't necessarily the podcast where I want to talk too much about the third date, but you kind of like it is a fine movie date because you sit down and you sort of like kind of begin the process of establishing, and this is not for everybody, but for me, the way that I usually like to do it, you sort of begin establishing like physical touch as like a factor in the relationship. Like you sit down in a movie theater right next to each other. It's like it's sort of, and then things get dark, and so you're like sort of next to each other in like the shroud of darkness. It's a little secret. It's a little, the way third dates go. It's a little sensual, and you kind of see how you guys fit into each other with that. And then once you're through those first 3 dates, if you're still seeing each other after that, then it's building a relationship, and then your dates are going to become much more unique to the two of or three or the two of you. I may be killing myself trying to be really inclusive. I just want people to know that I really accept every lifestyle as long as it's two consensual people, and so that's sort of like one way to do it.
No, I agree. I'm just talking from my own personal experience,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that if you had to fit it in because of the cultural norm, that's the way to do it. But I think that I think if you do a movie date, it's more so that you really want to watch this movie rather than like I don't think that you're like dealing with that situation head on. As you get older, you just have that, you should develop that confidence and just cut that out of your repertoire. That's my personal opinion, and that's how it's worked for me. But plus, like, you can always just watch. I think it's just a better move to just watch a movie at your place nowadays. So,
Zan, you dog. No, but yeah, Zan's structure is similar to mine, but he's like, on your first date, you're gonna want to ask if she wants to fly with you to Venice to try the pasta there. If she says no, just cut her off. She's not worth it.
I mean, I will do that at some point.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, you know what? I don't feel like doing a whole dating thing. Are you down to do an Italian vacation right now? Because I'm just craving. I'm craving Malta.
Pasta,
Yeah,
pasta.
I want to go to that
Yeah,
place from Netflix.
you know what's funny this weekend? Rossum didn't know how to say gnocchi.
Oh, isn't it just gnocchi?
No, I think it's gnocchi.
I think it's gnocchi.
You're more Italian than I am.
I think it's gnocchi, but it's also gnocchi. So and he didn't know how to
We
say
can
it.
look it up later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. Also, he doesn't know how to use chopsticks. It's a really interesting case over there.
That's
All right.
wild.
Yeah, let's move on to another topic involving movies, and that is let's talk about RRR. This is a movie that you recommended, surprisingly, because I'm the brown one and you're not. But
But if people know
I
me, it's not surprising because since I was in freaking high school, when I was in high school, I used to watch a Bollywood movie every week.
yeah, and that's surprising. Because I would say like if a white guy is cultured, they're usually cultured in only anime. But you went as deep as Bollywood, which is just really surprising.
I don't know. I had a group of friends growing up, and we really liked sort of like well, we kind of were attracted to the clips on YouTube of like an insane Bollywood action scene that was funny and didn't look very good but was hilarious. So we wanted to watch those movies, and you can only okay. So here's the thing: the surprise for all of us was they're really good. So you can only watch Bollywood movies for so long before you, and then it kind of has the same thing as anime where half of it is that the story's really good, but another half is you're just really like interested to get subtle glances into what's important in a culture. You know what I mean? And like how different people react to different things. So like you can tell if you watch a lot of animes, and this might not even be true, but it feels like the class hierarchy when they're in school, they're like, oh, that's the class president, the de facto most popular kid in school, and you're like, whoa, not how it goes here. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's not a true thing in Japan, but like in animes, it is just like, oh, class president, that's a whole thing. And in the United States, like we all kind of make fun of that dork, like we're all like, that guy wanted to be class president, the loser.
It's not true. Like our class president was definitely like the most popular kid in our school.
Interesting. In our school, we all made fun of that dork.
Really?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it's just cool because you kind of learn a little bit about the culture through watching the movies, and then I used to watch them every week as a kid, and so I was having this conversation with an Atlanta comic. He's an Indian guy, I was like, have you seen RRR? And he was like, no, but I have to. It's all the stars that I loved growing up. And I was like, me too. It felt like an Avengers movie. And he looked at me. He was like, what? Yeah, I was like, what, dude? What do you mean? Like, I love these guys. This is my stars as well. And I've been bumping the soundtrack all week. So RRR. Let's talk about it briefly for the viewers. It's an Indian movie. If you don't like Indian movies, you haven't watched very many. But it takes place during the British occupation of India, and it kind of goes through the like sort of journey of two heroes. And when the movie starts, one of them is on the British military occupying force, and then the other one is from like a small village, sort of out and like away from the main city of Delhi, where the movie takes place. It's an action movie, but it's a true Bollywood movie in the sense that it kind of has like Bollywood movies. They like you're like, what genre is this movie? And they're like, oh yeah, dude. So it's an action movie, but there's rom-com elements. You know, there's definitely like some police drama intrigue going on. There's a little bit of superhero stuff, right? They always love to do their Bollywood stars that are like bigger and stronger than everybody else. So there's definitely like scenes where it's a superhero movie also. And I just really think they nailed it. I think that they had just the right amount of like levity, which Bollywood really values in its movies in a way that American movies don't. They sort of do with levity what we did with irony. So if you watch like a Marvel movie, in every Marvel movie they're going to have a scene where somebody says their name, you know, we're the Illuminati, and then right off the next beat is somebody makes fun of it. The Illuminati, you know what I mean? Like they have to do that because the whole franchise is steeped in that irony. So somebody will be like, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy. And somebody will be like, you guys call yourself that? You know, like they always do that. And so what's interesting is with Bollywood movies, they don't have that, but they do have, like, a lot of the times action sequences where you can tell that, like, they're sort of, like, having a good time, making a funny movie, and they would think, like, I mean, in RRR, the famous one, wouldn't it be funny if he threw a tiger?
Yeah.
And it is. It's funny, but I don't know. That's sort of their thing that they do. They have levity in their action
Well,
scenes.
so tigers are really prevalent in India, and my grandfather supposedly was a park ranger. I didn't really know him, but he dealt with tigers. So whoever dealt with tigers in India is like renowned as being having a lot of strength,
Yep.
right? And so that's what they were trying to symbolize in this movie. Even though the tiger didn't really play a major part, like it had like this sequence where it was used, but it was primarily just trying to symbolize that how much strength this character has. But I will say that this is not your typical Bollywood movie. So you can imagine India is a pretty big country, and it's like the South in America has a different culture than the North, right? Just like that, India is the same way. So this is categorized in Bollywood, kind of, but it's South Indian, which is like a more fast paced, more cheesy, and more like in your face style of movie. So yeah, like I like the way that they did this movie. I feel like it okay. They sh so they in South India they usually speak in Telugu, and North India they speak Hindi. So they're like completely different languages. But this movie was shot in Hindi, but South Indian style.
Yep.
So it was like a South Indian movie shot for the North Indian audience. So it was a really like they did a really great job like introducing South Indian culture to the rest of India. And then when they made it Netflix, it does a good job at hitting the rest of the world because the main female in the movie was is the biggest female actress in regular Bollywood,
Yep.
and she was in this movie, which was pretty insane. So, like, if you've ever been interested in Bollywood at all, this is a great starting point, and it's really accessible because it's on Netflix.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the movie was actually recorded in Telugu and then dubbed in Hindi, and in India they released it in different languages based on where the theater was, obviously. And then
Uh,
they went with the Hindi version for Netflix, which like I don't think it was controversial, but people did like notice that. They were like, "Oh, okay, sure," and so yeah, they had both. And then there were scenes where they were talking both. There was a scene where they were in like a church type environment, and one of the pastor's definitely not the right thing to call that guy, but anyway, one of the people was speaking in Hindi, and then the other guy would say it in Telugu. So I think they even kind of brought that into the movie a little bit if you really want to get into the trivia of it. So, but I was really satisfied with the movie. I think it kind of had everything that I wanted. I think that they did a cool job making the dance scene a little more diogenes than they do in a lot of Bollywood movies.
oh, I
Meaning,
love the last dance sequence. That was insane.
well, the last one was really good. I'm talking about like the dance battle that they had with like the colonizer.
Oh yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
I just think that it was fun that they like. So a lot of times the Bollywood movies will just cut to a music video and then they'll cut back to the movie. So I liked that they kind of put it in the movie a little more. I think that that is served it better than some of the other. Not that I'm criticizing, putting dance music videos in your movies because that would almost just be missing the point of Indian cinema. But I don't know. I was really sad. You liked it too. I mean, I just haven't been that
Yeah,
satisfied.
no,
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. I mean, I will say like I think the best way to look at the Bollywood industry as opposed to the Hollywood industry is like there are certain categories that Bollywood is really ahead in, and there's certain categories that like Hollywood is really ahead in, and then Japanese cinema is really ahead in. So I mean, like I think animated stuff, I think Japan is like light years ahead of all of the industries,
yeah,
right? Like a lot of the things that Rick and Morty is doing now, I think that was done in anime in the past 20 years,
yep.
and it's just like starting to get adapted into our media. And I think the same is true for Hollywood's musicals and stuff. I think that India is like light years ahead in the musical industry. And then when it comes to like serious drama and like realism, that's where Hollywood shines. Like like from the moment that they did like westerns and not even westerns, they did like mafia culture, like those movies like Godfather, like they like the type of stuff that they made you feel, I feel like, Japanese cinema or Bollywood have like failed to do it to that extent.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely strengths for each one, but that's kind of what I was saying. Like, I really like the cultural elements of it, and I will even say, I feel like lately Indian movies, like even Student of the Year 2 years ago, or just like Student of the Year 2 years ago, are just like
Oh yeah.
they're just really hitting. They're doing exactly what they're trying to do. And like American movies, I'm sort of maybe it's just because I'm from here, but like even the really good dramatic ones, I kind of feel like they don't stick with you for more than like a few weeks. Like King Richard, the movie about like Will Smith being Serena
Love that
Williams.
movie. I
But
love
like
that movie so
I
much.
liked it a lot. I felt like it was really good, but I feel like I'm not still thinking about it the way I am about like RRR or even my favorite American movies like Birdman,
Oh man, I love Birdman.
An Unexpected Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and just stuff like that. Like I really am loving those movies. So the other movie that I almost would want to say that I saw that like it's possible to compare because it's sort of like look at where they both are now, right? Because like a staple of American cinema right now is the superhero movie. So we both recently watched Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is
Yep.
on Disney Plus. I don't think we're gonna spoil it, but if you're worried, then just like go watch it right now. We'll wait 5 seconds. All right, welcome back. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and like, I feel like they're kind of losing the plot. I feel like the Marvel franchise got a lot less cohesive after Endgame, and you can tell because they're not even doing sort of like what the important thing that they do for each character is. So this is a Doctor Strange movie, right? And the thing about Doctor Strange, the thing that differentiates him from every other superhero is that he is going to find like a creative solution to his problems that involve like a new and like very sort of cerebral type of magic. So in the first movie they nailed it because like they put him up against this infinitely powerful demon, and like Doctor Strange was like, I can't beat him with just like a big ball of fire. You know, this wasn't like that. So he had to do the time loop, right? Dormammu, I've come to bargain, X500. That's a really good way for a Doctor Strange movie to end, because you look at the villain and at the end you say, I outsmarted you. I was smarter than you, and we're already past the point where you could have done anything about that, and I won. And that really makes you feel good watching a Doctor Strange movie because
That's
oh,
what make
exactly.
that's what that's what makes us feel good. But
Yeah.
I think that it doesn't make majority of the audience feel good.
I think that it does, because otherwise, just go watch an Iron Man movie. Or, you know, if you want to see somebody get through it by just blasting harder and
Well,
doing
okay,
quips.
I think that okay, I think that earlier we were closer to, you want to think about the audience like, okay, this is the focal point of the audience, right? If we're early adopters and we understand, like, I'm a superhero fan like Smallville. You know what I mean? Like Smallville is like like in terms of like real life superhero stuff, it's like the first thing ever. Like season 1 Smallville.
Sure.
What was before that?
I
That
mean,
was
there was the
superhero.
Lou Ferrigno show of the Incredible Hulk that was on in the 70s.
Well, I mean, I was never a Hulk fan.
Okay, but you said first
So
thing ever. And so, I mean,
I mean, in our life, like how much earlier? Like, yeah, unless you were a fan of like old movies when you were a kid, like you're not gonna be exposed to that. But I'm saying like in our lifetime, what was the first thing that came up? It was probably Smallville.
it was,
That's
yeah,
not.
I mean, sure. The CW universe beginning with Smallville, it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, like season 1, it was on, I think WB. CW didn't even exist then,
You're
right?
right. Yeah.
So, like back then, like it was like Seventh Heaven, and then, bam,
Gilmore Girls, followed by
Gil-
Smallville.
exactly. And so back then, majority, like when I started watching Smallville, I didn't even realize it was Superman. And when I realized it was Superman, it blew my mind. I was like, I am a superhero things can be like this. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
when Spider-Man 1 came out, huge fan, right? And back then, if you were like part of that like group that like superheroes stuff like that and envision that all of it could happen together, you were an outcast, and that's what we were a part of. And the people that like want the Spider-Man that makes cartridges instead of the freaking Spider-Man that shoots it out of his wherever.
So gross.
Um, but you get what I'm saying? Like the original Batman, right? Like that Batman series, animated series, like one of the best shows of all time. And if they could just translate exactly what they did onto the screen into a real life version, that's like insane. But that focal point is no longer us, right? And the more we dislike the movie, the more that focal point actually likes the movie, because the nonsense makes sense to that demographic.
I think
And that's sad to say.
I think that they're losing it though. They're losing it a little bit. Thor just came out, and it's the fifth highest grossing Marvel movie of all time. If I'm in the boardroom and I'm in a suit, I'm pissed because we're only going up. How did we go down? Like, maybe this doesn't be Endgame, sure, but Thor 4, directed by Taika Waititi, should be a huge draw. The reason that it's
No
not
way. No way. Go, continue.
the reason that it's not is because like the whole universe is sort of lacking cohesion. There's not like an overarching focused story, which they had. I think that the key to success for the Marvel movies is have an overarching focused story that is apparent from the very beginning of the story, and use your star players, your Avengers, and have each of those have a distinct feel. I think that a Thor movie should feel really different than an Iron Man movie, should feel really different than a Doctor Strange movie, and I think this Doctor Strange movie kind of missed the mark. Additionally, they ruined one of the best characters that they have in their universe which is Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. I mean, I think that they totally just threw that against a wall after WandaVision, where she was like probably one of the most beloved characters in the whole franchise.
She's 100% coming back because they opened a world to multiverse characters.
Sure, yes, and I get what that does, but there's gonna be people who are pissed that their WandaVision star didn't have any lines of dialogue in this movie besides "My children, they're over there."
Yeah, yeah, but I still think that like like they get, as long as they had an emotional response, that's what matters, right? If you have an emotional response, whether it's like positive or negative, you're now attached to the universe. So the moment that they say, we don't think we did right by Wanda, we're bringing the real WandaVision back. That was not the universe that we really wanted for Wanda, and she's gonna enter the main timeline,
Okay,
right? Like if she comes from like a bit of a spoiler from Ultron universe, right? Like that's the Wanda that would be in the perfect headspace for everybody to be happy.
sure. I'm just not sure why they're not doing that. And so that's, I guess, that's Zan
But
and
she,
Jeremy's
but,
movie reviews.
no, but I think that they did everything perfect in terms of villain and good guy in this movie because the villain was someone that everybody already knew and cared about. They combined two important characters really well. Whereas with Thor, not Thor,
Yeah, Thor. Thor just came
Thor,
out. I mean, it could be Thor.
yeah. I'm trying to, yeah, Thor. With Thor, I think that the reason why I didn't go higher is because the advertisements for it were controversial in the sense, right? A lot of people don't agree with Natalie Portman picking up the hammer.
Which happened in the comics like probably 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it did. But you could tell, right, watching this movie, that this was a way to patch everything up because it's no secret that Natalie Portman did not want to be part of the series anymore.
Um, did you already saw Thor 4?
I did.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I told you I did earlier, and I basically lied when I said that.
Okay. Did I ruin something for you?
No, you didn't, because I already know everything that happens. I really hope that they did a good job with the villains, because the villain Gore the God Butcher is one of the best villains in the comics, just all time.
Yeah, I mean, the acting was amazing. This is one of those movies is if we got the full 4 hour cut,
Yeah.
I think it's like top three Marvel movies of all time. But without the full cut, this is like appeasing a very specific demographic that unfortunately doesn't involve us,
Um.
right?
Okay.
Like we care more about the intellectual side of things.
It's so bizarre that things are always ruled as not for me. And then I'm supposed to just be like, oh, I get it. It's not for me. Well, that's great then. Because, like, that same thing happened to Magic. Like, I had to be told for 2 years, basically, like, no, these changes aren't for you. And it's like, okay, but Magic was my game, so I'm pissed about that. And so now you're looking at me and you're talking about Marvel movies, and you're like, but you're not the intended audience. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch. Like, I kind of want to be at some point. Like, when am I the intended audience?
Nerd culture doesn't belong to the nerds anymore, and that's why all the Star Wars fans are pissed, and that's why all the Marvel fans are pissed, all the DC fans are pissed. Everybody's pissed because like a lot of this stuff was for specific people and it's no longer for them.
That's why anime's doing so well, is because they're like, oh, no, we'll still do your stuff. We'll make it for you. We don't have to be for everybody, right? They're like,
No, well, that's changing really quick because you can't even talk about it without all your stuff getting copy striked and burned to hell.
no, but I'm just talking about the content of the shows. Like Demon Slayer is one of the best animes. Well, like anime's getting better and they're still like doing the things that you want. They're not like trying to appeal to mainstream that much because Demon Slayer does not try to appeal to mainstream that much.
But that goes for anything that's of a foreign country, right? Because like Japan has never cared about what the rest of the world's doing. They just do their own thing. Like that's the like perfect way to look at Mario, right? Right? Like they were they were like, yeah, you're gonna do platformers this way. All right, we're gonna do platformers that go to the freaking galaxy,
Yeah.
you know, and then beyond.
And before that, they were like, "What if a platformer guy had like a water gun?" That's
Oh my
pretty.
God.
That's pretty crazy, right? And everyone's like, "Sure, okay."
I actually just got Mario Sunshine for the GameCube.
Ooh, you don't have a GameCube.
Yeah, my brother and I got a GameCube.
You don't even know what a GameCube is.
I had a GameCube back in the day, but I sold it. That was a mistake, so I had to buy a new one, and I have one.
I had to sell my Nintendo 64 uh, just to make rent and stuff, and it was like recent, not recent. It was like a year or two ago, but man, dude,
That's
yeah, I miss it every day. But I wouldn't have played it every day. I actually did miss it recently because an Atlanta comic he said out loud he was like, "Oh, if we had Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64 in here, nobody could beat my Kirby." And I was just like, "Dude, you would be dead in ways that you don't even realize to my NES. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You might never touch me."
uh, yeah. I don't think he can. That NES is like the most OP NES ever.
I know Nintendo 64 NES is just nuts, dude. Like Kirby versus I'm only allowed to use yo-yo attacks. I still probably just win.
Yeah, the moment like Kirby like lifts off the ground, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's like Pika Thunder
PK
or
Thunder was
Pika
nuts. Your Nair, your neutral air. I don't even
PK
know.
Fire was nuts. Oh my God.
PK Fire is always nuts. Anyway, all right, dude. We did movie reviews, which nobody's expecting Jeremy and Zan to do movie reviews, so that's really branching out. Um, Stand-up comedy going well for me.
Hmm.
I do stand-up comedy. If people don't know, you can look me up on Instagram, Jeremy bertarioni. I do lots of shows in Atlanta. I have a podcast that I'm releasing soonish. I'm having trouble sort of getting it published to those apps because it says they need to be verified, and that might take a little while by those apps. But I got a podcast coming out soonish with a local Atlanta comic. That's really going well. And I've just been told by you that there's like a sort of like a question that you have sort of brewing, and we'll probably have to end the podcast on that because we are like basically over time.
Yeah. Couple of things. I want to listen to the podcast, and as soon as I listen to the podcast, I'll give you guys an honest review on it,
I
get a glimpse into Jeremy's mind.
didn't ask for that.
Jeremy, yep. I'm putting it out
No,
there
you don't
anyways.
have to.
And number two is
It's gonna be like Come Town.
nope. Let's just ignore that. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was um this has been a bit of a secret, and kind of the reason why I haven't been streaming is because I've been working on my own game.
Okay.
I felt like, the Magic community is great. I love the Magic community, but I think that, let's say I get along with 30%, maybe 40%, maybe 50%, or 60% of the Magic community. There's a certain part of the Magic community I felt like I've never belonged in or was invited to be a part of. And, you know, as much as I wanted to fight this feeling, I've always felt like I could contribute something to the world. And so I just wanted to just try my shot at building a game how I would want to build it. And so um, I started doing that a while ago, and I finished recently. And the main reason why I went to Syracuse was to have my friends test it out. And I got some positive reviews, and this has kind of inspired me to kind of take it to the next level. And I kind of wanted to like put in a little bit so you guys could have an idea of what I've been working on. So the little tidbit that I wanted to throw out there is I want to call the game Alchemy, not like the Magic format, um, Alchemy, but completely different. And the game comprises of three different factions. Each of them have their own abilities. I'm just going to reveal one of, I'll reveal all three of their abilities. One ability is the ability to bounce a creature for the cost of one life, and another ability is to give a +1/+0 or +0/+1 counter on a creature. And then the last ability is deal 1 damage to target creature for 1 life. So that is kind of uh, like the basis of the game. So I wanted to throw that out there. And yep, that's it for our second episode. Thanks for tuning in. Jeremy, you have any last words?
I mean, your game sounds really cool. We'll probably talk about it more. It's really super early in development. I've been hearing about some cards and maybe giving input onto like just the general flavor and stuff of the game. Super early, so I don't want anyone to be like too pushing Zan on when are we going to get more information about it. Just know that like a game's coming. It's coming from a really good place. I think Zan's got his heart in the right place of making a game that's like for people who like card games, and so that's kind of just my final thought. You know, I mean, I'm really just happy that we started this. You know, I love how this podcast started. Zan called me. He was like, "Let's start a podcast," and I said, "Okay." And he was like, "No, but I mean right now." And then we recorded our first episode, and now we're on the second episode, and I think that I just want to now have a podcast with every single person that I know, and then I'll have 150 podcasts, and that'll make me popular, and then I'll be the Viper of podcasting.
True. It's always,
True.
I think it's always good idea to get on as many podcasts as possible. I think that podcasts give you like perspective of that about a person that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
All right. Next week we're gonna have Stavros Halkias on our podcast. So that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that.
Who is that?
Oh my god, dude! He's the famous comedian that just left Cumtown and made it into the Adam Friedland show.
All right, maybe. All right.
So
All
important
right,
that
bye.
you know about that stuff. Bye.
Bye.